My name is John Carpenter, and I'm 79 years old now. The story I'm about to tell you happened when I was 62, 17 years ago, but I remember every detail with the clarity that comes from moments that fundamentally reshape your understanding of reality. Some discoveries arrive like earthquakes, sudden, violent, undeniable. Others seep in slowly, like water through limestone, until suddenly the ground beneath you is hollow. The first signs of my wife's affair appeared 3 weeks before I knew what I was seeing. No, I wasn't spying on her, it all happened by accident. One day at work, I called my wife, just to hear her voice. It was a Tuesday in April 2006, around 2 p.m. I was senior partner at Carpenter and Associates, the accounting firm I'd built from nothing into one of Denver's most respected financial institutions. Linda and I had been married for 37 years. I called her cell phone. She'd finally gotten one after years of my insisting. It rang once, then connected, but she didn't say hello. Instead, I heard rustling, muffled voices, then her laugh, that specific laugh I hadn't heard in years. The laugh she used to have when we were young, when everything was possibility and promise. "You're terrible," she was saying to someone. "We can't, not here." A man's voice, low and warm. "Why not? No one knows we're here. Someone could see." "Let them." More rustling, then the call disconnected. I sat at my mahogany desk, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. She'd answered accidentally, pocket dial, they called it. Happened all the time with these new phones. I called back immediately. "Hello?" She sounded breathless. "Linda? It's me. John." "Hi, honey. What's up?" "Just calling to say hi." "Where are you?" "At the grocery store. Picking up things for dinner." "Sounds busy there." "You know how King Soopers gets in the afternoon." But I didn't hear any grocery store sounds. No announcements, no cartwheels, no checkout beeps. Just quiet, like she was in a car or a closed room. "What's for dinner?" "Your favorite. Pot roast." We hadn't had pot roast in 5 years. I'd developed high blood pressure, and red meat was off the menu. "Sounds great. See you tonight." "Love you," she said automatically. "Love you too." I hung up and sat back in my leather chair, looking out at the Denver skyline. The Rockies were visible in the distance, still snow-capped in April. Beautiful view from the 20th floor. I'd worked 40 years for this view, this office, this success. But suddenly, none of it felt solid. There were explanations. Maybe she was at the store and stepped outside to take my call. Maybe she was talking to a friend, joking around. Maybe I'd misheard. Marriage was built on trust, and I trusted Linda since the day we met at CU Boulder in 1968. But I knew her laughs. She had different ones for different situations. Polite laugh for my business dinners. Genuine laugh for our grandchildren. Nostalgic laugh when looking at old photos. And that laugh, the one I'd just heard, that was her intimate laugh. The one that used to be reserved for me. I might have dismissed the phone call if not for what happened next. 3 days later, I was doing our monthly finances, old habit from the days when money was tight. Now we had more than we could spend, but I still reviewed every statement, every charge. The Visa bill showed a charge I didn't recognize, $127.43 at the Crawford Hotel. I knew the Crawford. It was the renovated Union Station Hotel, trendy and expensive. The charge was from Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. The exact time of that phone call. Linda had her own card on my account. She rarely used it for anything over $50 without mentioning it. $127 at a hotel in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon? I pulled up the previous month's statement. Another Crawford charge, same rough amount, different Tuesday. And the month before that. 3 months of Tuesday afternoon hotel charges. I sat at my home computer, evidence of something spreading across my screen like cancer cells on an X-ray. But evidence of what? There could be explanations. Maybe she was meeting friends for lunch. The Crawford had a nice restaurant. Maybe she was treating her book club. Her book club. Tuesday afternoons? I pulled up our calendar. Every Tuesday. Book club 1 to 4 p.m. But the Crawford charges were all around 2:30. And they were for amounts that suggested room service or drinks, not a full lunch for multiple people. I heard Linda's car in the driveway. Quickly, I closed the browser, cleared the history. When she came into my study, I was looking at sports scores. "How was your day?" she asked, kissing my forehead. She smelled different. New perfume? Or someone else's cologne? Good. Productive. How was book club? Oh, you know. We're reading that new Patterson novel. It's terrible, but Helen loves him. Where did you meet? Helen's house, like always. Helen lived in Cherry Hills, 20 minutes south. The Crawford was downtown, the opposite direction. What did Helen serve? Her usual spread. Too much food for 6 women. I nodded, smiled, went back to the computer. But my mind was racing. 6 women. I could call Helen, casually ask about the book club. But that would be spying. That would mean I didn't trust my wife. Did I trust my wife? That night, Linda made chicken marsala, another dish we hadn't had in years due to my dietary restrictions. She seemed happy, humming while she cooked, dancing a little to the oldies station. She looked good too. Had she lost weight? Her hair was different, styled instead of just pulled back. You look nice, I said. Do I? Thanks. I've been trying to take better care of myself. Any special reason? She paused, spatula in hand. We're not getting younger, John. I want to enjoy what time we have left. What time we have left? With who? The third sign came a week later, at a gallery opening for our friend Mitchell's wife, Sandra. She was a painter, abstract stuff I didn't understand but pretended to appreciate. The Denver art scene was small and incestuous. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone had opinions about everyone else. Linda and I arrived separately. I'd come from the office, she'd been at her mysterious Tuesday afternoon engagement. She looked stunning in a black dress I'd never seen before. When had she bought it? Why hadn't she mentioned it? You look beautiful, I told her. This old thing? She said, but she was pleased. The gallery was packed with Denver's cultural elite. I did my duty, shaking hands, discussing tax implications of art purchases, being John Carpenter, successful accountant. Linda drifted away, as she always did at these events. She found the art crowd more interesting than the money crowd. I was trapped in a conversation with Bradley Morrison about capital gains when I saw him. A man I didn't recognize, tall, silver-haired, probably mid-50s. Handsome in that weathered Colorado way, like he skied in winter and hiked in summer. He was talking to Linda by the featured painting, standing closer than strangers stand. Linda was animated, gesturing at the painting, explaining something. The man leaned in to hear better, his hand briefly touching her lower back. She didn't move away. Who's that? I asked Bradley, nodding toward them. Who? Oh, that's Christopher Brennan. Owns that chain of outdoor equipment stores. Wild Earth? Very successful. Going through a nasty divorce, I hear. How does Linda know him? Bradley shrugged. Denver's small. Everyone knows everyone. But I'd never heard Linda mention Christopher Brennan. In 37 years of marriage, where we discussed everything from grocery lists to our deepest fears, she never mentioned this man who made her laugh like she was 25 again. I watched them for another minute. The way she tilted her head when he spoke. The way he mirrored her posture. The comfortable silence when they both just looked at the painting. These weren't strangers. These were people with history. Excuse me, I said to Bradley and walked over. Linda. She turned, and for just a second, I saw something in her eyes. Guilt? Fear? Or just surprise? John! Come meet Christopher. Christopher Brennan, this is my husband, John. Christopher's handshake was firm, his smile genuine. John Carpenter. I've heard so much about you. Funny, I haven't heard anything about you. An awkward beat. Linda laughed, too bright. Christopher's in my book club. He just joined last month. A man in her book club. That was new. I thought it was all women. We're being more inclusive, Linda said. Christopher brings a wonderful perspective. I'm sure he does. Christopher had the grace to look uncomfortable. Actually, I should go. Early morning tomorrow. Nice to meet you, John. Linda, I'll see you Tuesday. He left, and Linda and I stood in front of the abstract painting, swirls of red and gold that looked like passion or fire or the end of something. He seems nice, I said. He is. His divorce has been hard on him. How long have you known him? A few months. Helen introduced us. Helen. Everything came back to Helen and this book club. I'd like to come to book club next week. Linda looked at me like I'd suggested joining the circus. You hate book clubs. Maybe I want to try new things. John, it's really not your scene. We mostly just drink wine and gossip. With Christopher? He's the only man brave enough to endure us. That night I couldn't sleep. Linda lay beside me, breathing steadily, occasionally murmuring in her dreams. Who was she dreaming about? For 37 years I'd assumed it was me, our life, our family. Now I wondered if Christopher Brennan inhabited her unconscious hours as well as her Tuesday afternoons. At 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went to my study. I opened my laptop and did something I'd never done before. I Googled my wife. Linda Carpenter brought up her LinkedIn profile. When had she gotten LinkedIn? Some mentions from charity events. A photo from the Denver Post of us at last year's Symphony Gala. Then I searched. Linda Carpenter, Christopher Brennan. Nothing. Christopher Brennan, Wild Earth, Denver. His company website came up. Successful indeed. 12 stores across Colorado, expanding into Utah and Wyoming. His corporate bio mentioned his MBA from Wharton, his passion for mountaineering, his recent divorce. The photos showed him in professional outdoor gear on what looked like a 14er. Handsome, successful, adventurous. Everything I wasn't. I searched. Christopher Brennan, divorce, Denver. Several society page mentions. His ex-wife, Patricia, had filed 16 months ago. Irreconcilable differences. She got the house in Cherry Hills, he got the business. Standard high net worth Colorado divorce. 16 months. How long had Linda known him? A few months, she'd said. But the hotel charges went back 3 months, and who knew how long before that they'd been meeting elsewhere? I heard footsteps in the hallway. Quickly closed the laptop. John? Linda in the doorway, silhouetted by the hall light. It's 3:30. What are you doing? Couldn't sleep. Reviewing some client files. At 3 in the morning? Big audit coming up. She patted over, put her hands on my shoulders. You work too hard. Someone has to pay for your book club lunches. She stiffened slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just joking. Those Crawford Hotel charges add up. Silence. Her hands still on my shoulders but no longer massaging. How did you, what Crawford charges? On the visa. I saw them doing our monthly finances. Oh. That. We've been meeting there sometimes. Helen likes their restaurant. I thought you met at Helen's house. Usually. Sometimes we change it up. Her lies were so smooth, so quick. How many had I believed over the years without questioning? Come back to bed, she said. In a minute. She kissed the top of my head and left. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then opened the laptop again. This time I searched. Helen Morrison Book Club, Denver. Helen had Facebook. Public profile. Photos of grandchildren, her garden, her supposedly famous book club. I scrolled through months of photos. Tuesday afternoon gatherings at her house. 6 women, wine, books. No Christopher Brennan. No Crawford Hotel. Every photo was dated. I cross-referenced with the credit card charges. Every Tuesday Linda had charged at the Crawford. Helen had posted photos of the book club meeting. Without Linda, I'm not proud of what I did next. But I was 62 years old, facing the possibility that my entire life was built on lies, and I needed to know the truth. I went to a spy shop on Colfax, the kind of place that sold surveillance equipment to paranoid spouses and private investigators. The young man behind the counter had seen my type before. Suspected infidelity? He asked too casually. Business matter, I lied. Sure. Business. Well, for business matters, I recommend this. He showed me a GPS tracker, small as a matchbook. Battery lasts 2 weeks. Real-time tracking on your phone. Completely legal if it's your vehicle. Linda's Lexus was in my name. Technically legal. Morally questionable. But I was past caring about morality. I'll take it. That evening, while Linda was in the shower, I attached the tracker inside her rear wheel well. My hands shook as I did it. 40 years of trust, reduced to a magnetic device the size of a matchbox. Tuesday came. Linda kissed me goodbye after breakfast. Book club today, she said unnecessarily. Have fun. Tell Helen I said hi. Will do. I went to work but couldn't concentrate. At 1 p.m., I opened the tracking app on my phone. Linda's car was leaving our house in Highlands Ranch. But instead of heading south to Cherry Hills and Helen's house, she went north. Downtown. I watched the dot that represented my wife travel up I-25, exit at Spear, navigate through downtown Denver. It stopped at Union Station, the Crawford Hotel. For 2 hours the dot didn't move. At 3:47, it started again. But not toward home. West on I-70, into the mountains. What was in the mountains on a Tuesday afternoon? The dot stopped in Evergreen, at an address I didn't recognize. I Google mapped it. A cabin. Whose cabin? Property records were public. I searched the address. Owner, Christopher Brennan. My wife was at Christopher Brennan's mountain cabin. The dot stayed there until 7 p.m. 5.5 hours at another man's cabin. She called me at 5:30. Honey, book club is running late. Helen opened a third bottle of wine, and you know how she gets. Take your time. Be safe. I might be quite late. Don't wait up. I'll leave the porch light on. At 10:30, the dot finally moved back toward home. I was in bed, pretending to sleep when she came in at 11:15. She showered before getting into bed. Washing away evidence. Washing away another man's touch, his smell, the afternoon and evening of betrayal. John, she whispered. I kept my breathing steady, feigned sleep. She sighed, turned away, and within minutes was asleep herself. I lay awake until dawn, thinking about the GPS dot at Christopher Brennan's cabin, wondering what exactly had happened during those 5.5 hours. Wondering if I wanted to know. Wondering if I already knew. I planned to confront her the next morning. Had my speech prepared. 37 years of marriage, 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and this is how she repays me? But when I came down for breakfast, our daughter Melissa was there with our twin granddaughters, Sophie and Emma, age 7. Dad! Melissa hugged me. Mom said you'd be at work already. Running late this morning. Grandpa! The twins attacked me with hugs. Linda was making pancakes, the girl's favorite. She looked radiant. Happy. Guilty people shouldn't look that happy. Melissa's car is in the shop, Linda explained. I'm watching the girls today. No school? Teacher in service day, Melissa said. Mom's a lifesaver. Linda smiled at me over the girls' heads. The smile of a grandmother, a mother, a wife. Not the smile of a woman who'd spent yesterday afternoon and evening at her lover's cabin. I couldn't do it. Couldn't destroy this moment, this family tableau. The girls were showing me their drawings. Melissa was telling a story about her husband Greg's latest home improvement disaster. Linda was laughing, flipping pancakes, being the center of our family's solar system. I have to get to work, I said. Without breakfast? Linda seemed concerned. Big meeting. I'll grab something downtown. I kissed the girls, hugged Melissa, and Linda walked me to the door. You okay? She asked. You seem tense. Just work stuff. Don't let it get to you. Life's too short. She kissed me goodbye. Her lips on mine, the same lips that had kissed Christopher Brennan yesterday. How many times? Where? I drove to work in a fog. My secretary, Patricia, noticed immediately. John, you look terrible. Didn't sleep well. Coffee? Please. Strong. I sat in my office, staring at the tracking app. Linda's car was at home. But next Tuesday, it would be at the Crawford again, then at the cabin. The pattern was established. Unless I broke it. I called Helen Morrison. Helen, it's John Carpenter. John! How lovely! How's Linda? She's great. Actually, I'm calling about your book club. Oh? I'd like to surprise Linda by showing up next Tuesday. Maybe bring lunch for everyone. Silence. Then, that's very sweet, John. So next Tuesday at your house? 1 o'clock? Actually, we're not meeting next week. Helen's in Mexico. Helen, you're Helen? Did I say Helen? I meant Margaret. Margaret's in Mexico. I see. When's the next meeting? I'll have to check and get back to you. She hung up quickly. Helen knew. Of course she knew. She was covering for Linda. How many others knew? How many people in our social circle were aware that John Carpenter's wife was having an affair while oblivious John went about his business? I hired him that afternoon. Thomas Brennan, no relation to Christopher, he assured me. Former Denver PD, discreet, expensive. I need to know everything. I told him in his downtown office. How long it's been going on, how serious it is, what their plans are. You sure you want to know everything? Sometimes ignorance. I'm sure. Okay. I'll need a recent photo of your wife, her daily schedule, vehicle information. I provided it all, feeling like I was filling out forms for my own execution. This Christopher Brennan, I'll check him out too. These things are rarely one-sided. What do you mean? Affairs follow patterns. He might have a history. Might be useful if you're considering divorce. Divorce. The word sat heavy in the room. I'd been thinking about evidence, truth, confrontation. But not the after. Not the actual ending of 37 years. Just get me information for now. I'll have a preliminary report by Monday. I spent the rest of the week in a strange limbo. Linda and I ate dinners together, watched the news, discussed the grandchildren's school events. She mentioned book club on Tuesday. Same time? I asked. Always. Maybe I could drop you off. Save you the drive. Don't be silly. It's out of your way. Everything normal. Everything a lie. Saturday, we went to our son Michael's house for his birthday. The whole family gathered, Michael and his wife Janet, Melissa and Greg with the twins. Linda had made Michael's favorite cake, chocolate with cream cheese frosting. We sang, ate, laughed. I watched Linda with our children, our grandchildren. The perfect mother, grandmother. But she checked her phone constantly. Texting someone? Christopher? Everything okay? I asked when I caught her typing. Just Helen. She's having drama with her husband. Helen's husband had been dead for 3 years. Sunday, we went to church. Sat in our usual pew, said the usual prayers. The sermon was about honesty in marriage. Linda held my hand during it, squeezed it when the pastor talked about forgiveness. Was she asking for it? Or mocking me? Monday came. Thomas Brennan called. Can you come to my office? That bad? We should talk in person. Thomas Brennan's office felt smaller this time, the walls closer, the air thinner. He had a folder on his desk, thick with photos and documents. How long? I asked before he could speak. Based on what I've found, at least 6 months. Possibly longer. 6 months. Christmas, New Year's, our anniversary in March, all of it during her affair. Show me. He opened the folder. Photos taken with a long lens. Linda and Christopher at a coffee shop, hands touching across the table. Walking in Washington Park, his arm around her. Kissing in the parking lot of the Crawford Hotel. These are from the last week, Thomas said. But I also did some digging. He pulled out credit card records, not ours, Christopher's. He had a source at the credit card company. Hotels in Vail, Aspen, Boulder. Weekend trips. Your wife told you she was at spa retreats with her sister? I nodded. 3 spa weekends in the last 6 months. She was with him. The charges matched the dates. More documents. Phone records showing hundreds of texts, hours of calls. Late-night conversations when I thought she was reading in the guest room because I snored. There's more, Thomas said carefully. Tell me. Christopher Brennan's divorce. The real reason? He had an affair with his business partner's wife 2 years ago. Nearly destroyed his company. This is a pattern for him. And Linda? Is she part of a pattern? Your wife appears to be genuinely in love. This isn't a fling for her. How can you know that? He pulled out another photo. Linda and Christopher at what looked like a jewelry store, examining rings. This was Saturday. While you were at your son's birthday party, she met him for an hour. Told you she was getting gas and groceries? I remembered. She'd been gone for 90 minutes to get gas. Are they planning to? I don't know. But shopping for rings suggests something serious. What else? He's selling his cabin. The one in Evergreen. Listed it last week. Why? According to the realtor's listing, he's planning to relocate. Start fresh somewhere. With Linda? That would be my guess. I stared at the photos. My wife of 37 years looking at rings with another man. Planning a future that didn't include me. I went to work Tuesday morning as usual. Kissed Linda goodbye, told her to have fun at book club. Watched the GPS tracker show her car heading to the Crawford Hotel at 1 p.m. But this time I followed. I parked across from Union Station, watched her enter the hotel. 15 minutes later, Christopher arrived. They were getting careless, or they didn't care anymore. I waited an hour, then entered the hotel. The Crawford was beautiful, restored elegance, old Denver money mixed with new Denver style. I went to the bar, ordered a scotch, and asked the bartender, "Which room is the Brennan party in?" "Mr. Brennan? He's in the tower suite. 3rd floor." "Thanks." I didn't go up. Not yet. I sat at the bar, nursing my scotch, planning. I could knock on the door, confront them. But what would that accomplish? Drama? Tears? Denials or admissions? Instead, I made a different choice. I called Christopher's ex-wife, Patricia. Found her number through mutual acquaintances. "Patricia? This is John Carpenter. I think we need to talk." "About Christopher and your wife?" She knew. Everyone knew but me. "Can you meet me?" "Where?" "The Crawford Hotel bar." "Now." She arrived 30 minutes later. Still beautiful at 50-something, but with the hardened edge that comes from betrayal. "How long have you known?" I asked. "About Linda?" 3 months. "About Christopher's patterns?" "Years." "Tell me about the patterns." "He seduces married women. Older ones, usually. Women who feel ignored by their husbands. He makes them feel young, desired, adventurous. Then, when they're ready to leave everything for him, he loses interest." "How many?" "That I know of? 4 before Linda." "And they all left their husbands?" 3 did. The 4th killed herself when he abandoned her." My blood went cold. "What?" "Margaret Fielding. 2 years ago. She left her husband, her family, everything. Christopher promised her the world, then dumped her for his next conquest. She took pills. And Linda doesn't know this? Why would she? Christopher presents himself as the victim. The misunderstood romantic whose evil wife didn't appreciate him. Why didn't you warn the women? I tried with the first two. They thought I was the bitter ex-wife trying to ruin his happiness. So I stopped trying. But you're here now. Because I like Linda. I've met her at events. She's a good woman making a terrible mistake. What do you suggest I do? Patricia smiled coldly. What I wish I'd done. Destroy him before he destroys you. Patricia and I sat in that bar for 2 hours, crafting something elegant in its simplicity. She knew Christopher's weaknesses, his vanity, his need for admiration, his fear of public humiliation. He's planning something big, Patricia said. He always does. A grand gesture that makes the woman feel like she's in a movie. That's when they leave their husbands. How do you know? Because he cleared out his investment account last week. My lawyer keeps tabs. I still get alimony based on his assets. He withdrew $200,000. For what? Probably a house somewhere. Maybe Santa Fe. He always talked about Santa Fe. Buy a place, present it to Linda as their new beginning. When? Soon. The patent says within the next 2 weeks. We kept drinking, kept planning. Patricia had contacts, information, leverage. There's something else, she said eventually. Christopher doesn't know this, but I do. He's sick. Sick how? Prostate cancer. Stage 3. He's refusing treatment because it might affect his performance. He's got maybe 2 years, maybe less. Does Linda know? I doubt it. He's good at hiding unpleasant truths. I thought about Linda planning a future with a dying man who wouldn't tell her he was dying. At 4 p.m., I watched on the tracker as Linda's car left the hotel, headed to Christopher's cabin. The pattern, reliable as clockwork. What now? I asked Patricia. Now we wait for his grand gesture. And then we make our own. I went home that night with Patricia's words echoing. Destroy him before he destroys you. But sitting in my empty house, Linda had texted that book club was running late again. I realized I didn't want destruction. I wanted understanding. So I wrote Linda a letter. Old-fashioned, handwritten on the good stationery she'd bought me for Christmas years ago. Dear Linda, by the time you read this, you'll know that I know. About Christopher, about the Crawford Hotel, about the cabin in Evergreen. About the rings you were looking at on Saturday while I sat at our son's birthday party, wondering where you were. I'm not writing to rage or condemn. I'm writing to remember. I remember meeting you at that party in Boulder, 1968. You wore a yellow dress and laughed at my terrible jokes. You were studying literature, I was in accounting. We shouldn't have worked, but we did. I remember our wedding, how your father cried during the father-daughter dance. How you whispered, "We did it!" when we were pronounced husband and wife. I remember Michael's birth, how you held my hand so tight you left bruises. Melissa coming 2 years later, easier but still terrifying. How we were a team, figuring out parenthood together. I remember building this life, mortgage payments we could barely make, your used bookstore that never turned a profit but made you happy, my firm growing from 1 client to hundreds. We built something, Linda. Something real. I know I wasn't perfect. I worked too much, especially in the early years. I missed school plays and soccer games. I fell asleep during movies you wanted to watch. I stopped seeing you, really seeing you, somewhere along the way. But I loved you. Love you? Even now, knowing what I know, I love the woman who was my partner for 37 years. I hired an investigator. I know about Christopher's pattern with married women. I know about Margaret Fielding. I know he's dying and hasn't told you. I know he's planning to ask you to run away with him, probably to Santa Fe. I also know you've been happier these last 6 months than you've been in years. I see it in your eyes, your energy, the way you hum while cooking. He makes you feel something I stopped making you feel long ago. So I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to make scenes or hire lawyers or empty our accounts. If you choose him, I'll give you a quiet divorce. You'll get half of everything, as is fair. I'll tell the children it was mutual, that we grew apart. I'll even wish you well and mean it. But before you decide, know this: Patricia Brennan tells me he's done this 4 times before. Each woman thought she was special, different, the one who would finally heal his wounded heart. Margaret Fielding killed herself when she learned the truth. Also know this: I want to try again. Not to return to what we were, but to build something new. We're in our 60s, Linda. We have maybe 20 good years left. We could spend them rediscovering each other, or you could spend them with a man who won't live to see 2 of them. I'm going to Michael's for a few days. The house is yours to think, to decide, to choose. Whatever you decide, know that you were the love of my life, even if I forgot to show it. All my love. John. I left the letter on her pillow, packed a bag, and drove to our son's house in Fort Collins. 90 minutes north, but it felt like crossing into another country, one where marriages lasted and wives didn't shop for rings with other men. Michael was surprised to see me at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Dad? Everything okay? I need to stay for a few days. Your mother and we need some space. He didn't ask questions, just showed me to the guest room. His wife Janet brought me tea, patted my shoulder, said nothing. Good kids, both of them. I turned off my phone. Didn't want to track Linda's car anymore, didn't want to see if she went back to the cabin, didn't want to know anything except what she would choose. Wednesday passed. Thursday. Friday morning, Michael knocked on the guest room door. Dad? Mom's here. She was standing in Michael's living room, holding my letter, tears streaming down her face. How long have you known? She asked. 3 weeks. Since the accidental call. You hired an investigator? I needed to know. Is it true? About the other women? About Margaret Fielding? Asked Patricia Brennan. She's documented everything. Linda sat heavily on Michael's couch. He said I was different. Special. You are special. Just not to him. The cancer? Stage 3. Maybe 2 years. He was going to take me to Santa Fe. Bought a house. Showed me pictures. When? Yesterday. Said we could leave Monday. Start fresh. And you said? I said I needed to think. We sat in silence in our son's living room. 37 years of marriage reduced to this moment. I don't love him, Linda said finally. Then why? Because he saw me. For 6 months someone saw me as Linda, not as Mrs. John Carpenter, mother of 2, grandmother of 4. Just Linda. I see you. You do now. Because you might lose me. She was right. It took the threat of loss to make me really look at what I had. What do you want, Linda? I want to be 25 again. I want to make different choices. I want to have had adventures before settling down. I want impossible things. We all do. No, John. You don't. You want exactly what you have: success, respectability, a stable life. You've never wanted adventure or passion or risk. I wanted you. That was my adventure. She looked at me then, really looked at me. Was it enough? Was I enough of an adventure? You were everything. Past tense? Current tense. You are everything. Even now, even after this, you are everything. Michael and Janet had disappeared, giving us privacy. My son, who'd learned discretion from watching his parents' careful marriage. I ended it, Linda said. Yesterday, after he showed me the house. Told him I couldn't leave you. Why? Because 37 years matters more than 6 months. Because you know I hate mornings and make my coffee anyway. Because you still think my pot roast is edible even though we both know it's terrible. Because you wrote me a letter instead of ambushing me with lawyers. Because you're John, and I'm Linda, and that's who we've been for almost 4 decades. Is it enough? I don't know. But it's real. Christopher was fantasy. You're real. Flattered, I think. She almost smiled. Can we try? Not to go back, but to go forward? Counseling? Everything. Counseling, dating, talking, really talking. No more book club lies. No more working late when you're really just avoiding coming home. I haven't been working late. I've been home every night for 3 weeks, watching you lie about book club. Oh. We sat with that truth between us. We didn't go home together. Linda went back to the house. I stayed at Michael's for another week. We needed space to process what came next. But we talked every evening, really talked, for the first time in years. I threw out the Crawford Hotel receipts, she said during one call, and the lingerie I bought for him. I dismantled the GPS tracker from your car. You put a tracker on my car? I was desperate. Fair enough. I was lying about book club. These admissions, small acts of honesty, rebuilding trust one confession at a time. Patricia Brennan called me that Thursday. Christopher's in the hospital. What happened? Collapsed at his office. The cancer's spreading faster than he thought. He's refusing to call Linda. Good. You should know, he's telling people she seduced him. That she pursued him relentlessly. He's playing victim. Of course he is. I'm handling it. Making sure people know the truth. All 4 previous women are willing to speak up if needed. Thank you, Patricia. We betrayed spouses need to stick together. That weekend, Linda and I met for dinner at a neutral restaurant, not one of our usual places, somewhere new. She looked nervous, younger somehow. Vulnerable. I've been thinking about why. She said before we even ordered. Why I did it, why I risked everything. And? My mother. She died at 62. My age now. Died never having traveled, never having had passion, never having done anything but be a wife and mother. You're not your mother. Aren't I? Same suburban house, same routine, same predictable life. When Christopher showed interest, it felt like a last chance at being someone different. You could have talked to me about feeling trapped. Could I? When was the last time we talked about feelings instead of schedules? She was right. We'd become logistics partners, not emotional partners. There's something else, she said. The night I realized I was actually considering leaving you, I made a pro and con list. Very romantic. The con list was short. You work too much, you've gained weight, you snore, you're predictable. Wonderful. The pro list went on for 3 pages. You're steady, reliable, kind. You've never raised your voice to me in 37 years. You still bring me coffee in bed. You laugh at my bad jokes. You've been faithful every day of our marriage. Until you weren't. Until I wasn't. And the guilt is eating me alive. Christopher made me feel young, but you make me feel safe. I chose excitement over safety and almost lost everything. You did lose something. We both did. Trust. Can we get it back? I don't know. But I want to try. Dr. Martin Reeves came, highly recommended, a marriage counselor who specialized in infidelity recovery. His office in Cherry Creek was deliberately neutral, beige and calm, like being inside a sedative. Why are you here? He asked in our first session. My wife had an affair, I said. My husband disappeared into work and I looked elsewhere for connection, Linda said. So you both had affairs, one with work, one with a person. That's not the same. I started. Isn't it? Dr. Reeves asked. Emotional absence is a form of betrayal too. 3 months of weekly sessions, sometimes twice weekly. Unpacking 37 years of accumulated resentments, missed connections, unspoken needs. When did you stop seeing each other? Dr. Reeves asked during one session. When the kids left for college, Linda said. Suddenly we had nothing to talk about except them. Earlier, I countered. When Linda's bookstore failed. She retreated into herself, and I retreated into work. So 15 years of living as strangers? The number was shocking when stated so plainly. We did homework, date nights, conversation cards, intimacy exercises that felt ridiculous for people in their 60s. I feel like a teenager, Linda complained after one assignment to hold hands for 10 minutes while maintaining eye contact. You had an affair like a teenager, I shot back. That's the anger talking, Dr. Reeves noted. It's healthy. Let it out. So I did. Raged about the betrayal, the lies, the humiliation of everyone knowing but me. Linda took it, cried, apologized, but also pushed back. You betrayed me too, she said. Every business trip that could have been shorter. Every evening you stayed late instead of coming home. Every time you chose a client over your family. I was building our future. We didn't need more money. We needed you present. Dr. Reeves let us fight, then helped us understand. Patterns established early, reinforced over decades, invisible until crisis exposed them. Meanwhile, Christopher Brennan was dying faster than expected. Patricia kept me informed. He'd entered hospice, was asking for Linda, being denied. Should I feel guilty? Linda asked one night. He's dying alone. He made his choices. Still. Do you want to see him? She thought about it. No. That chapter's closed. But I hate that he's suffering. He caused suffering. Margaret Fielding is still dead. I could have been her. But you weren't. You chose differently. 6 months after discovering the affair, something unexpected happened. Helen Morrison, the book club Helen who'd covered for Linda, called me. John, I need to talk to you. Without Linda. We met for coffee. Helen looked older, tired, guilty. I owe you an apology, she began. For covering for Linda? For more than that. For encouraging it. What? I was having an affair too. With my trainer. Linda knew, covered for me with my husband before he died. When she met Christopher, I encouraged it. Thought she deserved some happiness. You encouraged my wife to destroy our marriage? I encouraged her to live. You weren't giving her that. I was giving her everything. Everything but yourself. John, I've known you both for 20 years. You're a good man who became a ghost. Linda was dying of loneliness in a full house. That justifies infidelity? No. But it explains it. My affair ended when Richard died. The guilt killed him, I think. Heart attack at 58. I never got to apologize. And now? Now I'm trying to make amends. Linda ended it with Christopher because she loves you. Despite everything, she loves you. Don't waste that. Helen died 2 weeks later. Stroke in her sleep. Linda was devastated, her co-conspirator, her secret keeper, gone. She was the only one who understood. Linda cried. I'm trying to understand. But you judge. Helen didn't judge. Helen was having her own affair. Exactly. She understood the hunger. The hunger? For being desired. For feeling vital. For mattering to someone. You mattered to me. I was furniture to you. Comfortable, reliable furniture. The truth stung because it held accuracy. I'd taken Linda for granted, assumed she'd always be there, like the mountains always being visible from Denver. Christopher died the day after Helen's funeral. Patricia called with the news. He asked for Linda at the end. Did she? No. But he left her something. A letter. Should I send it? Yes. The letter arrived 3 days later. Linda read it, then handed it to me. Linda. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. The cancer one, or maybe it was karma. Patricia probably told you about the others. They meant nothing. You were different. You made me want to be better. I'm sorry for the lies, the manipulation, the fantasy I sold you. You deserve truth, and I gave you fiction. Your husband is a good man. I could tell by how you talked about him, even when complaining. You love him. Go back to that love. It's more real than what we had. Christopher. He's right, Linda said. What we had wasn't real. But it felt real to you. Fantasy always does. That's its power. I'm 79 now, telling this story from our house in Denver, the same house Linda almost left, the same house where we rebuilt our marriage brick by brick. It's been 17 years since that accidental phone call exposed Linda's affair. 17 years of reconstruction, reconciliation, and sometimes just endurance. We didn't divorce. We considered it, even had papers drawn up once, but ultimately chose the harder path, staying and rebuilding. The first year after discovery was hell. Trust broken that thoroughly doesn't heal quickly. I checked her phone, her emails, her whereabouts. She tolerated it, understanding it was part of the price. The second year was better. We traveled Paris, Rome, places we'd always promised ourselves but never prioritized. Away from Denver, from routines, from the geography of betrayal, we remembered why we'd fallen in love. "You still make me laugh," Linda said over wine in Tuscany. "You still make me think," I replied. Year 3, we sold the house, too many ghosts, and bought a smaller place in Washington Park. Fresh start in familiar territory. We took dance lessons, cooking classes, things that forced us to work together, touch each other, cooperate. Year 4, Linda wrote a memoir about the affair. Published it under a pseudonym. It became a bestseller. The Tuesday Woman, by Anonymous. Reading my wife's account of falling for Christopher, of lying to me, of the guilt and exhilaration, was agonizing but necessary. "Why publish it?" I asked. "Penance. And warning. Maybe some woman will read it and recognize herself before it's too late." The book sparked a national conversation about infidelity, aging, marriage. We did one interview together, in shadow, voices disguised. The interviewer asked if we'd recommend staying together after an affair. "No," I said. "No," Linda agreed. "Then why did you?" "Because we're stubborn," Linda said. "Because we're scared of starting over," I added. "Because 37 years of shared history outweighed 6 months of fantasy," we said together. Years 5 through 10 were about forgiveness. Not the word, that came easily. The actual feeling, the release of anger and hurt. It came in waves, unexpected moments. Like when Linda had a cancer scare in year 7. Sitting in the oncology waiting room, I realized I'd rather face her illness than face life without her. The anger evaporated, replaced by fierce protectiveness. The cancer was benign, but the scare was real, and it shifted something fundamental. Or when I had my heart attack in year 9. Minor, but Linda stayed by my hospital bed for 3 days, reading to me, holding my hand. "I could have lost you," she kept saying. "You almost threw me away," I reminded her. "The worst mistake of my life." No. The affair was a symptom. The mistake was letting our marriage die slowly for 15 years before that. Years 11 through 15 were actually good. We'd found a new rhythm, intimate but not suffocating, together but maintaining independence. Linda volunteered at a literacy center. I mentored young accountants. We had separate interests but shared dinners, every night, no exceptions. "We're like new roommates who happen to have been married for 50 years, Linda joked. "Roommates who share a bed." "That too." The intimacy returned slowly, differently. Less passion, more tenderness. Less frequency, more meaning. Year 16 brought grandchildren's weddings, great-grandchildren's births. Life moving forward, the affair receding into history. Now, in year 17, we're old. Linda has Parkinson's, mild but progressive. I have my heart issues. We're careful with each other, precious with our remaining time. Michael and Melissa know about the affair now. We told them in year 10, when the memoir came out. They were angry, hurt, confused. But they've processed it, integrated it into their understanding of us as flawed humans rather than just parents. "I'm glad you stayed together," Michael said recently. "Not because it was right, but because you're still you. Together you're mom and dad. Apart you'd be strangers." Last month, we went to Union Station, had drinks at the Crawford Hotel bar, the scene of the crime, so to speak. "Strange to be here," Linda said, reclaiming the space. "From what?" "From him. From that time. From the mistake. It wasn't all a mistake. It woke us up. Hell of an alarm clock. We toasted, to survival, to forgiveness, to 17 years of post-affair marriage that had been harder but more honest than the 37 years before it. Patricia Brennan joined us. We become friends oddly. 3 survivors of Christopher's destructive charm. She's remarried now, happy. Any regrets? She asked us. Thousands, I said. But not about staying? Linda asked me. No. That was the one thing we got right. We're going to die married to each other. Not the fairy tale marriage we'd imagined at 25, but the real marriage we'd earned through betrayal and recovery, lies and truth, destruction and rebuilding. The affair could have ended us. Nearly did. But we're stubborn old Coloradans who don't quit easily. We're John and Linda, together since 1968, married since 1969, broken in 2006, rebuilt by 2023. The accidental phone call that exposed Linda's affair was either the worst thing or the best thing that ever happened to us. Maybe both. It forced us to see each other clearly after decades of comfortable blindness. It nearly destroyed us but ultimately saved us from the slow death of indifference. I don't recommend affairs. I don't recommend the pain we went through. But I do recommend the honesty that came after, brutal, cleansing, necessary. Linda still goes to book club on Tuesdays. Real book club now, at the library, with witnesses. I sometimes pick her up, meet the other members. No Christopher Brennans among them, just retired teachers and librarians discussing contemporary fiction. Trust but verify. I joke. Fair enough, she says. We hold hands walking to the car. 17 years after betrayal, we're still holding on, to each other, to our marriage, to the complicated truth that love can survive almost anything if both people choose to stay and do the work. Almost anything. We were lucky. Or stubborn. Or both. That's our story, the accidental discovery, the intentional recovery, the marriage that died and was resurrected, different but still breathing. Still breathing. Still together. Still complicated. Still ours.